Ouroboros vs Regulus. The ultimate question. Now, without trying to sound like too much of a dick, this literally does just come down to skill versus just casual Unga Bunga DPS. Don't get me wrong, since the introduction of Ouroboros, it is basically the meta. The only real argument against Ouroboros is the range game, but even then, I believe Rousey and a few others have done a lot of testing on this. Ouroboros basically out DPSs pretty much everything up to 30 meters. So even up to 30 meters, Ouroboros, despite only having an optimal range of 15, is still winning. That being said, the big argument here is just going to be the accuracy of the weapon at that sort of range. Personally, I feel comfortable with the weapon up to about 25-ish meters. 25-ish meters, no longer going for headshots, you are going for body, at which point some ARs where you're able to consistently get headshots are possibly going to win, but still, Ouroboros is very much that damn silly. Don't get it twisted, this is not me saying, oh my god, this weapon needs nerfing. I am pretty confident that they're not going to change this weapon in any way, shape or form, simply just because during the introduction of this weapon, during the special announcement, where they already reduced the fire rate, Yannick seemed genuinely disappointed by this situation, as well as very adamant that he wanted the weapon to keep its identity, and by that he is referring to its insane fire rate. In terms of base damage, as well as the overall damage you're able to do, it's the exact same as basically every other vector. Like, in terms of damage, it's the same as any vector. Like, I see a lot of people being like, oh my god, look at the damage, look at this, look at that, it's amazing. The damage is no different to any other. Like, its damage isn't what is making this thing very powerful, it's the RPM, plain and simple. So what we actually have here is a little test that they didn't know I was running. Hutchler did kind of catch on a little bit, simply just because he kept stating, stop killing my ads, and by this I mean myself and Unknown Spot are running Ouroboros. Hutchler is running Regulus Headhunter, and we have Toasty doing Foam. And the test I was running was what one actually works out better, Ouroboros or Regulus. Now, annoyingly, this is kind of a dud test, and there's no like exact science behind it, simply just because this could work both ways. Hutchler is a very accomplished player, especially in terms of Regulus. He's very accurate, he's very knowledgeable. We're also doing DUA, which is where he's probably spent 50% of his life, the other 50% being Iron Horse. So he knows this mission inside out, he knows positionings, he knows everything. And it goes without saying that at this point, Hutchler with a Regulus is very easily also going to outperform me on an Ouroboros. However, this could also work both ways. If we gave me the Regulus build and Hutchler the Ouroboros, he would probably also still out DPS me with an Ouroboros. So again, this is not like an exact science, and I'm not going to put science behind it or try and tout this as like absolute in fact. However, in terms of overall performance with an accomplished player with Regulus, it will basically always outperform Ouroboros. Even if we had two Hutchlers, one running Regulus Headhunter and one running Ouroboros, you're pretty much guaranteed to always get the Regulus player having the higher DPS, simply just because that is just how powerful Regulus is. And this isn't me actually then saying that Regulus isn't powerful and it needs a buff. Just for some perspective, this is the very first time we have been able to out DPS Legendary DUA's boss's heal. Like, we didn't destroy the backpack, we were able to very quickly and easily kill him just by shooting him in the head and just outperforming his heal. So it is a very, very powerful weapon. That being said, as amazing as that is, and we've never really been able to do that before, we can still one-shot him with Nemesis, M870, Regulus, which should hopefully highlight that although Ouroboros is very, and I do mean very, very powerful, it is not the most powerful thing in the game. I believe that title is basically still held by Nemesis, MH70 Regulus and the TAC-50 under the right circumstance, and that's simply just because the TAC-50 does only 50% of its damage towards named enemies, which if it didn't, then the title would literally just go straight to TAC-50 because it would be that powerful versus everything. Now, the reason this can't be like a direct comparison is because what you are essentially equating or comparing here is a player's skill. For example, if you were to test this again with just me with an Ouroboros against me with a Regulus, I will probably do better with an Ouroboros, simply just because it's easier to deal with. It's easier to do DPS than it is to rely on alpha damage. Alpha damage is basically the ultimate skill in this game, and by alpha damage I essentially just mean your ability to headshot everything. One shot, one kill. This is more than viable, it's easily done as long as you have the skill. It's also why a lot of the top end teams and players don't utilise a healer, they utilise CC, which holds them still, makes it easier to deal with, just makes it overall easier to accomplish. So it's not like it's a perfect scenario 100% of the time, and again, this is an unfair comparison. The reason for this comparison is quite simply a lot of people are stating Ouroboros is literally just the best thing ever, which for players like yourselves, me, unless you're like Hutchler, Reslevo, AJ, Astro, Luna, Merc from Kit Clan, a variety of other people, Regulus is still going to absolutely hold its ground, magnificently so. But this doesn't also detract from how powerful Ouroboros actually is, because it is really, really going to depend on your skill. Which you could argue is kind of a poor take and actually makes this overall video redundant, but I just really do want to just drill home that Ouroboros is very powerful. It's not bad. I've seen a few Reddit posts already of people being like, Ouroboros is bad, blah blah blah. It's like, no, you're kind of an idiot. In terms of rapid fire automatic weapons, Ouroboros is the best thing in the game. In terms of you being able to clear content quickly, easily and efficiently, provided you have the skill to use it, Regulus is still top tier. And that is kind of the big issue. See, annoyingly, when it comes to things, whether it be meta or meta, hopefully we know the difference at this point, it doesn't care how good of a player you actually are. Meta is meta is meta is meta, and it is there for a reason, but it doesn't care how good of a player you are. This also kind of then also leads a little bit into St. Elmo's. See, St. Elmo's is again very good. I personally would argue it's not meta, but it is very, very prominent on the more casual player base because of its ease of use. You don't need that higher stats to be able to have St. Elmo's be worthwhile. You don't need the best build ever in order for St. Elmo's to be worthwhile. Oreo is the exact same, it just turns St. Elmo's up to like 50. Like we've skipped 11 and 12 up to 50. This is how much more powerful Oreo is. However, in the same vein, Regulus is kind of almost there, but it's turned it up to like 5,000, but you need to be able to use it. Because meta doesn't care how good of a player you are. Everyone can learn to drive a car and move around safely on the roads. Pretty easy. Not everyone can become a top tier Formula 1 driver. Similar sort of scenario, logic. Billions of people play football worldwide. There's maybe, approximately 67,000 professional football players on the planet. So, this is kind of where I'm leaning with this. Regulus is technically better, but you need to be able to use it. However, if you can't use it, Ouroboros is very, very powerful. And this isn't me trying to shit on players or the weapon itself. In terms of playability, will always pick Ouroboros over Regulus because it is easier to use, it's more comfortable for me to use. But at the same time, I cannot deny just how powerful Regulus actually is in terms of its overall performance, provided you could use it. For players such as Hutchler, who we have in the group with us during this run, for him there's no sense to him picking Ouroboros over Regulus, especially under this scenario. That's another thing, it's going to become circumstantial. How are each one going to perform in each specific scenario? So we kind of need to exercise a bit of common sense as well as accurate self-evaluation. One, is Ouroboros going to suit this scenario, or will Regulus do better? And then two, are you more comfortable utilising Ouroboros or Regulus? It's kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other situation. However, it does require just a little bit of forethought. However, that is going to do it for this video. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.